Hi everyone, this is Srinivas Reddy. Now I am going to explain Terraform types. Terraform types are data types, we can call anyway. So these are very important. See, Terraform types are strings, numbers, booleans, lists, maps, and objects. So these are common. I will explain one by one. So how these strings, numbers, booleans, lists, maps, and objects we can use in our terraform.tf files. So one by one I will explain. So theoretically, and I will show some of the .tf files. So where we can use these strings, numbers, booleans, list, maps, and objects. So first coming to the strings, strings are enclosed in double quotes. So easily we can identify. So some other than that also some uh, some parameters, those are also will be available in double quotes. Okay, strings are used to represent text values, and strings are used extensively throughout Terraform configuration files to represent various types of data such as resource names, variables, and JSON encoded data. So just we can see so how we are going to mention strings. See, here I have uh, sorry, just I was prepared. So these are the strings, objects, numbers, maps, and list, and boolean. So we can go inside strings. ls, just I was prepared, one .tf file is there. So we can go inside that strings.tf. Okay, see here, um, here variable it is the region, type it is the string. Okay, so default it is the US East one. This is one of the string. Okay, here we mentioned string, I mean in terms of we can represent uh, I mean resource names, variables, and other in format of JSON type also. Okay, resource names and variables. So here we can see resource name and I mean variables, correct. And resource name is also here AWS instance, I mean we can mention as double quotes, and here you can observe variable. This is one of the example, variable and resource. So clearly we are going to identify with double quotes. So here that with double quotes we mention AWS instance, that name it is example. So inside the double quotes we mention, right? So we can tell it is string. Okay, here the variable it is the region, and we can mention the region US East one. Okay, so coming to one more example, here app name, environment, these are mentioned, okay, in double quotes. And full app name, here also we mentioned in terms of double quotes. So we can tell these are called strings. So one more example, so here it is related to the JSON related. One more example, see here S3 bucket, AWS S3 bucket policy. In terms here we can mention in double quotes. So this is also one of the string. Okay, so strings are always we are going to mention with double quotes. So this is an example related to the strings. Hope you understand. So next one, numbers. So numbers are used throughout Terraform configuration files to represent various types of data such as instance counts, pricing, and timeouts. So here numbers are I mean in terms of how many number of EC2 missions, like that. Okay, and count. So I'm going back, ls and enter. So numbers, right? Okay, Okay, see here it is one of the example here. Variable instance count, okay, and type number, default it is the 2 it is nothing but a number, okay. And here other than that number, okay, here also we mention count in terms of dollar var instance count, okay. Here default we mention 2. This is one method. Suppose if you are going to mention in terms of dollar, I mean assigning okay, that number, I mean instance count, so this is another type, okay. So next coming to this JSON related, okay. Suppose if you are going to mention with the JSON type, so at that time also you can mention numeric equals, I mean source owner equal to data AWS caller identity current account ID, okay. So this is also one of the example, I mean numeric equals. Suppose when you are going to use this numeric equals, at the time also you can use this count related one, okay. So count in the sense you can mention number of instances or something like that, okay. So the next we can see booleans. So booleans are nothing but easily we can identify, so true or false we are going to be mentioned in booleans, okay. So we can see example. Okay, here variable it is enable monitoring and type it is boolean, correct. So here we able to see true, right, so we can say it is boolean, okay. So this is one of the example. Suppose boolean logic is there, so boolean logic in the sense here engine it is MySQL, instance class dbt2 micro, and public accessible false. See, false and true both are mentioned here. Public accessible false, skip final snapshot it is true. Storage type GP2, allocated storage is 10, and monitoring interval here, okay. So if you are going to mention false or true inside this is one of the both mentioned, okay. Here we are not going to mention single, both we mentioned, right, so it is boolean logic. Suppose in case of bash, okay, in terms I mean in case of bash you can represent AWS security group rule, type ingress and port 22 and TCP and CIDR range here given, security group ID, where enable SSH access question mark is there, and AWS security group example ID and null. So at this scenario also we can tell it is a boolean, like boolean, okay. So here we can use boolean like this, okay. So coming to the next one, list, okay. List also very important. Here lists are used to represent ordered sequence of values, and lists are defined using square brackets. I mean we can easily identify which one mentioned with the square brackets, then we can tell that is list. So lists are used extensively throughout Terraform configuration files to represent various types of data such as availability zones, IP addresses, and instance names, etc. Okay, so then we can see okay. See here variable availability zone is there. Here below type list string we mentioned. See list always will be start with so these brackets, okay. So yes, west 2a, west 2b, okay. It is going to list all the availability zones, okay. So this is one example. Suppose in case here also you can see resource AWS security group rule and type ingress and port is also there, and CADR blocks, and AWS VPC example CADR block. Okay, here in terms of CADR range, that CADR range, here also CADR range is there, right? So we mentioned with respect to the AWS VPC example CADR block, it is going to assign that CADR block to the VPC example one. So in this case also we can use list. Suppose in case other one, AWS instance example AMI, and instance type is there, subnet ID and name. Okay, instance names, count index is there, right? So instance names, here we are going to call all instance names, web1, web2, db1 and db2. Okay, so we mentioned brackets, right? So we can tell it is a list. Okay, so web instance names for name in local instance names, name if contains name and web, both we mentioned here, and close it. So in this, we can tell list will be like that. So next one, okay, so next maps. Majorly maps are used to throw Terraform configuration files to represent various types of data, such as region to AMI mappings. Okay, so from one particular AWS region to one particular AMI, if you are going to select, so at that time you are going to use maps. Okay, and instance configuration and tags and maps are identified or defined easily using curly braces. Previously also we are using the same thing. Okay, fine. Curly braces, these curly braces are similar to these objects also. Okay, so here also we are going to mention with objects, but these are maps and objects are also both the same, but one similarity is there. These braces, curly braces, but here objects are used when the data structure is more complex and requires nested attributes. They are useful for representing like AWS resources with multiple attributes or instance with many tags. At that time we are going to use these objects. So first we can see maps. So we can go inside that one. Okay, so here see locals and region to AMI. So here this is US East one. Okay, so US East one, it is going to map with particular AMI. This is called map. Okay, region to AMI map, and US West to this particular AMI, it is going to map. Okay, so this is one example. And here you have the AWS instance example AMI and T2 micro subnet ID. Okay, so this is one part. Okay, coming to related to the Java like that. Okay, resource AWS instance example for var instance configuration. Here AMI they given, each value AMI ID and instance type, each value instance type and subnet ID. We are going to mention tags name each key. Okay, so each value AMI ID, instance of each value. Okay, so here variable here we are going to mention, we are going to call, we are going to map each value like that. And region to AMI map is also there. Okay, so this is also previously we discussed that one. So similar to like this. Okay, map string is there. Okay, it is going to map a particular AMI into a particular region. So next one, objects we can see. So here also in so just I was forget. Okay, that curly braces is there, right? So here also In objects also, okay, same thing. Yeah. So object also here, I mean, same, but same like maps, but here data structure is more complex and require nested attributes. So at this scenario, we can use objects. They are useful for representing things like AWS resources with multiple attributes, or instance with many tags. Okay, these are also similar to the curly braces, and dot operator is used to access object properties. Okay, so here we can see that one. Okay, so see this one, this is map object, AMI ID string, instance type string, subnet ID string, correct? So we close with this one. So map object, so this is one object. So next, AMI ID instance type, subnet ID, tags name and environment dev is there, and next DB1 is there. Okay, so multiple services are there, I mean web1, DB1. Okay, so here also we can use data type. Yeah. So resource AWS instance example, and subnet ID and tags they given here. Okay, so this is about Terraform types, or data types. We have strings, numbers, booleans, list, maps and objects. Thank you.